Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. We have a really special video for you all today. It's a brand new series that we're launching called the 5-Minute Resume Review. In it, of course, I'm going to review a resume in 5 minutes, but the special part is I'm going to draw upon all of my experience having successfully applied to the big three consulting firms, having worked in one and actually helped out with recruiting, and then third, having helped maybe 50, 60 people by this point get into the big three. I'm going to use all of that knowledge, condense it into 5-minute videos, reviewing someone's resume live, someone who is actually and actively applying for the big three right now. But before we get into it, I just want to say we made a video talking about the top 3 resume mistakes that I've seen most frequently in all of these experiences. It'll be right here, so make sure to go check it out in the description before you watch this, and then use this video in conjunction with that to improve your resume. But that's enough talking for me. Let's dive into the resume. Awesome. All right, initial view looking at this resume, it looks really nice actually. I think overall, just like first glance, it's unconventional format. In future videos, I'm sure you all will see what I mean by the conventional format, but this is a little bit unconventional. He's using colors. There's obviously a lot of bolding, which is pretty nice. So I would say overall, this resume looks pretty and very readable. The spacing is awesome, but also another thing that's going in my mind is immediately that this person's probably applying to software, marketing, advertising, or just other creative type roles and not necessarily just focused on consulting. So that's one thing that's automatically going through my head. And when I started looking at his experiences, it's immediately, oh yeah, product management stuff, okay, so it makes sense, right? But anyway, let's start looking at the content and some details about the format overall. So first starting with the overall sections, experience, and then leadership experience, and then education at the bottom, which is interesting because this person still hasn't graduated yet. They still have, it seems like at least 2 semesters or a semester and a half left. And so that's a little unconventional, but usually people might do that because they're trying to hide their GPA, but this person seems to have a 4.0, a great GPA, so that's not a problem at all. But yeah, let's start looking at their actual content. This is where I think people start to make mistakes or have less strong of resumes than others. It's how they convey their content. So let's start reading and see. Led a team of 4 to launch personalized product offerings to 3 million users. Okay, that sounds pretty impressive. Off the bat, he's already using plain English, quantifying things, plus 3 million users. Like, I don't know what kind of personalized products he's offering or launching, but the fact that it's going to 3 million is impressive. Interviewed 15 users to analyze pain points, establish success metrics. Okay, cool. So that's also great. In this second part of the line, though, I would say, although it was great that he described what he did and it was crystal clear, I think if he could answer the so what question a little bit better around, okay, what was the actual output of what he did there versus just telling me what he did? Like, okay, you did all of this stuff, but at the end of the day, I really care about the results. What's the value you drove? You know what I mean? This next line, partnered with design to conduct UI investigation for site navigation, conducted 9 usability tests and identified 3 bugs. Again, I'm not someone who comes from a product management or a CS background. That could be enough if I was coming from those backgrounds, but for me, I'm wondering, okay, but what was actually the result of you identifying those 3 bugs? Did you then fix it and then it allowed the customers to better use the site or better convert on buying something? You know, what was the actual benefit from you doing that? So even with all of that, resume looks great thus far, but the one thing I would say is answering that so what question to the next degree. But again, I think for all of you out there who are looking to improve your resume or who are just starting from scratch, this is a pretty good resume so far in terms of using numbers and then speaking very plainly. I also really like the fact that he's pretty concise with what he says. Whenever there's a line and it's only 1 line, he uses up the whole line, but then if it's 2 lines, it seems like every word is useful and it basically covers both of the lines. There does seem to be some, maybe I've seen like launched doesn't have an E right here, so I would say probably a little bit of spell check as well there. Let's see what else. Founded a product management newsletter for 400. That's really awesome. So when I see this, it seems like this guy has just started a newsletter because of his interest in product management, and it has a bunch of good metrics, 80% open rate, all of these numbers, even if they're not like, he's not Mr. Beast of newsletters, but it's still really cool that he's actually willing to go out there and create something. I think that's another thing that people don't talk about enough when it comes to consulting resumes is that, sure, if you have good club experiences, good GPA, good test scores, all of that kind of stuff, but there's just this overall thing around if you do something hard, and oftentimes doing something hard means like either founding something or improving something greatly. If you can do that and then convey it on your resume and convey it on your interview, it looks so cool and is something that's really interesting and makes you very attractive as a candidate. And so I think this is the analogy for that person. So I think, yeah, this guy creating this newsletter is phenomenal. Okay, cool. Seems like he's giving coffees. I don't know exactly what this means, but that's pretty cool. And then, yeah, so I trust that the rest of his stuff is really good in terms of content, so we don't need to go line by line. I think you all get the point. There's two things that I want to talk about last. The first one is there seems to be a little bit of inconsistency in how he ends his lines in terms of punctuation. This is a very nitpicky thing, but I just wanted to call it out so that you all know about it. So, for example, down here in his skills and tools, he has product, tools, and interests. That's awesome, but this ends in a period, this doesn't, so just make sure that you're consistent. And of course, this person does a great job because that's the only place that I could find inconsistency, but you should make sure that everything that you have in your resume is consistent. From the name, for example, his names are all the same color, same bolding, the bullets are the same. He even always makes sure to hyperlink whatever company or whatever thing he does. So that's great, and you should definitely do the same. And then same thing with dates. Same format, right? Month, 3 letters, year, followed by whatever the last one is in the same format. So just make sure you're doing that. And then the absolute last thing that I would say, and it's actually nothing that you can really get from looking at the resume, but me thinking through when he applies and then eventually when he goes to an interview around why do you want to do consulting? I look at this resume and I'm like, man, you are such a product manager geared person. Why are you applying to consulting, right? And so assuming this person actually does want to do consulting, they need to have a good answer to that question. And so that's what I would be saying to this person, and then to you as well. Even if you do have a more consulting geared resume, always be thinking about why do you want to do consulting, both for yourself so you know it's the right thing, but then also when you get that question in an interview, the better answer you have, the better your resume will be tailored to answer that question without you needing to be in the room as well. So that concludes our first 5-minute resume review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give a like below. But real quickly, the recap for the themes. The first one is always make sure you're answering that so what question. Don't just write about the things that you did, but why it mattered and what the value was, because that's what we have to do as consultants at the end of the day. The second one is understand the format, your experiences, and what they convey about you, and thus if you need to be tailoring your resume to one direction or another. And then the last thing is consistency. Just making sure that you have consistency, of course, in the spelling and making sure everything is spelled correctly, but then also periods, dates, formatting, all of that kind of stuff. And if you need any more tips on resumes, make sure to check out the 3 most common mistakes that we saw whenever I was looking at resumes. The video is going to be in the description, but that's the video for now. See y'all later.